And welcome everyone. We are back with APIM Hotrod. Hi Stefan, how are you?
Hello, Massimo. Fine and you? What's up?
Wonderful. We For the one that are watching this video, we most of the time we record on Friday, so I'm full of energy for the weekend.
Good, good, good. No, no, indeed. Yeah, same for me. So Friday is more relaxing typically. So fine.
It's great. So we go back with your. I love it so badly. Your map is our polar star that we are using to drive our episode. Sometimes we go into a full branch. Sometimes we dive into a specific topic. We try to have a 20 minutes or 25 minutes episodes. Their time is always running out so fast, but okay, we will go into single topics more in details in the coming episodes. So last time we talked about monitoring, the importance to have under control and insights about the traffic of our API gateway and in general our API management solution. But if we look at an API program in a broader sense, another thing is very important is in the context of when we publish APIs, for example, to have a developer portal to face our internal audience, our business to business audience, or if you want B2C kind of audience. So today we would like to talk a little bit about developer portal, right?
Yes, indeed, Massimo. So yeah, I think we have a few stories. Maybe I can start and then, or just feel free to interrupt me, or the other way around, basically. But so to be honest as well, so on my side, it's quite a while ago that I've not looked at the development portal, so developer portal. So I'm not sure about the real latest evolutions of this guy. But of course, this is an important component that's built in. That's actually also what explains why you have an API management solution, and that you should not restrict an API management solution to a mere API gateway, right? It's more than this. You have really the management of APIs and some built-in tools, and the dev portal is an example of this. So basically, yeah, initially the goal of the dev portal is really to let API developers discover your APIs, right? So you have some docs, you have some default behavior, let's say, that which facilitates the consumption of your APIs. That's really the idea behind this component. And it also integrates with let's say some well-known IDPs. I think that's an important part as well. As you could see in the map, unlisted local accounts. That's really users inside of the instance, and then of course you have Entra ID, so formerly Azure AD. B2C, and then you could also integrate with your, let's say, custom SSO, let's say, provider, custom IDP, which is something I've done once, let's say, in the real world, and that's still in production today. Yeah, that's basically, yeah, the goal of that portal is really to list out APIs and products and let them let's say let people subscribe to them, try them out. And you have of course different ways of handling subscriptions. Either let people really subscribe, either it's subject to approval. So you have yeah, quite a few functionalities in that dev portal.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Massimo, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was listening, so very interesting. So also in my case, we have some quite experience regarding these developer portals. And my first question is like, I always attack this topic from two sides. One, first defining which kind of API program we are talking about, if it's
Yeah,
internal, if it's external meaning partner
yeah,
focus or B2C focus. But then after that, so after that is clear, because sometimes there are also mixed situations that you are
yeah,
focusing on a partner and also a do-it-yourself.
yeah.
That would or like any yeah, people out there.
Mhm.
But I will maybe talk about this example in few minutes. But in general, one of the main questions that we ask ourselves is like, what about which kind of user experience
Yeah,
do you want to provide through
yeah,
this portal? Because API management, in this case, like other API management solutions, they provide out of the box. developer portal.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but is that experience good enough for the
Yeah.
developer experience that you want to
Of course.
provide? So
And
it
I think
depends then
indeed
on how
it
you
is
want to
key.
engage to your API.
And it is key, as you highlighted, to first identify the audience, because indeed, if it's for
Yeah,
internal
that is to me
purposes, you might say, okay, that's fine. My internal dev teams will actually maybe they can just use the built-in features, and that's good enough, because you might not have skyrocket requirements. But indeed, as soon as you engage with third parties like partners or customers, then of course the reputation of your company is is in the picture, and so then you have
exactly.
to consider it in a different way. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Massimo.
Because there is a big difference between internal and external. Because internally, sometimes an API catalog is enough, like the discovery that get the information that you need about authentication. But then when you go externally, you have a lot of different topics about onboarding, for example. Okay, how to get started? Is it self onboarding, the one that you have out of the box, or you have onboarding at different level because I want to first try out, I want to discover, and then I will be only able to access to that portion of data only when the contract will be signed. So there is a lot, okay, that's philosophical, but it's always about people, technology, and process. And more you go to the enterprise world, the process angle and the importance of this process, the example of onboarding I was saying, is becoming more and more important. So then there are a lot of other areas that you might or might not want to cover in an API portal. For sure, the documentation is always there. The sample of a request, sample of a response, the OpenAPI specification, or any other kind of documentation. And you can continue about authentication, about code, but how do you provide support? Suppose I am a partner of you. I want to consume your APIs. I want to go to a single point, a front door to enter to your API program. Of course, I want to understand, okay, how can I raise a ticket? How can I contact you if something is wrong? Where are the facts? So a lot of things that are there in a professional website, and all of these things makes the game more and more complex, like the releases, what about SLA? So it's a lot of things. I found it extremely, extremely complex. Also because one more thing, again, process, technology, but people. An API program, when you have a portal that faces the outside world, you have to bring together different roles, like the business roles, the technical roles, and then you have the legals and compliance, the other things where I always call myself out, because of course I know nothing about legal and compliance, right? So it's really, it can really be really complex stuff.
It can be a project in itself. So that's basically, depending on the scale, because that I think the scale is also important, because even if you engage with external parties, maybe if you, let's say, try out, make a pilot or something, then you might not invest time in building a portal, or the default one might be good enough as well. But no, of course, if you really say, okay, I have money to make, I have, let's say, interesting data for all my customers or all my partners, and I want to expose that through APIs and really monetize it, then of course, then you need to think thoroughly about the onboarding experience, and indeed typically go beyond what the standard built-in dev portals can offer, basically. I think that's the message, right, Massimo?
Yeah, I mean that's the message. That's my experience. I mean I did the previous version. So API management, as we were saying, is coming from a developer portal, and now there is a new version since a couple of years, and where let's call it the classic version that now has been deprecated. On the classic version, we did for one customer a huge amount of customization, injecting CSS, injecting JavaScript, everything to make something that was generic, completely looking like the look. I mean,
Customer,
having the look
look
and
and
feel
feel.
for the customer. It was a huge hack. It was working fine, but then when you have to touch something, it was like, oh my god. So end of the day, my experience for portal more complex, as you were saying, and more it scales, more you end up creating your own
Yeah, yeah, because
API portal.
indeed, and as you said, so what you explain indeed really looks like a hack, and indeed, it's somehow silly to go through that pain because we can actually interact with indeed the management API, right? So I mean the main resource manager endpoint, and also the APIM's built-in management API. So in any case, we can build something and ourselves, let's say, discover products. I mean, in the back of your application, you can discover products and so on, and actually decide how you really want to make that surface on your own portal. So indeed, I think if you really need, for me, it's easy. Either you can live with what the built-in experience offers without too much customization and just rerunning a bit look and feel, and that's it. Either you need something more advanced and just build something else, right? Instead
Yeah.
of indeed trying to customize the built-in dev portal.
Yes, on that customization, so we give up since a long time. So we, if there is a need of a strong customization, we go completely custom
Yeah,
because also the current developer portal is a sort of CMS, right? So and what companies are asking themselves, okay, why should I learn a new
yeah,
CMS if I my internal way of working, for example?
indeed.
And then we end up to say, okay, there are companies that maybe create their own, for example, a React front end, and also some cases where we create an APIs on top of the management API to, let's say, put some data together, a sort of
Mhm.
compound APIs
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah,
add company data to the ARM to create a different
yeah.
security mediation, if you want.
And I suppose, Massimo, that this intermediate API is itself published to APIM, right?
This API, come again,
This
sorry?
intermediate API that you built on top of the management API, it is also published on APIM, right?
I don't answer to this. No,
Okay.
no, I'm having fun, yeah. But like the important thing is that this you can in this API interface with the ARM API and
Yeah,
do action on behalf of the user. So
yeah,
in this way you are making you can make sure that I mean company A see the data A, company B see the
yeah,
data
yeah,
B. I can create a subscription key, for example, on behalf of the
yeah,
logged in user. That's also something that was very challenging some years ago, and now it works. It works
yeah.
as a charm.
Yeah, but that is also a good point. So actually, that I did, well, it actually again depends as well. So for instance, I developed at some point integration with a delegation. So in that one, then basically when people authenticate, they basically authenticate using a page that you bring yourself, right? But on
Yeah.
top, you can also provide some hooks for subscriptions. Right, and so then I could actually create those subscriptions programmatically, and it worked, and it still works, and that was already back in the days with the classic.
But
Um,
what you said,
yeah,
Stefan, there is that delegation early in the
yeah,
days was working for two or three objects, and one is subscription. Right
yeah,
now,
yeah,
the
indeed, yeah,
delegation is mainly to create the login, so to create the user for the first time into the identity
yeah,
repository. Let's call it like this.
yeah, yeah.
And then all the rest can be done in a uniform way. You know,
Of
we
course,
need
yeah.
consistency. I cannot do three things in one way or four things in one
No,
way.
of
And
course, no, 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 no. No, that's for sure. And but by the way, as well, just creating subscriptions, that's also something. To be honest, especially if you have B2B APIs and so on, subscription keys, yeah, they are used mostly for uh, let's say usage and so on, but not really anymore as a security mechanism, right?
exactly.
I mean that's definitely not enough. So typically you anyway have to register apps in your IDP for the part or certificates, depending on how, of course, you want to let them consume your APIs. But so anyway, you need to go beyond what the default portal allows you to do. Let's let's face it. Unless you would actually just have a set of APIs, right? That you only expose a set of APIs on Dev Portal that would only play APIs somehow. That can also could also be done. But for
One
the
of
real actual APIs, typically you need more than just subscription keys.
Yeah, but one of the big things especially at the beginning of API management, you need one of the competitive advantage of those developer portals that you have inside those portal, an API explorer. You can render your Swagger, you can try it out,
Yeah.
and all of these kind of things.
Mhm.
But that was a competitive advantage or a key differentiator years ago. Right now, there are tons of let's say React components on any other tools that you can just take it and click it and embed it in your tool,
Of
and
course.
voila, you're ready to go. So that differentiator is not there anymore. It's just
Yeah.
how fast you can create your developer
Yeah.
portal, how can customize your content, how much it fits at the end to your
Yeah.
requirement. And it's very simple, but
Mhm. No,
yeah,
no, indeed. For me, among all my customers, I only know one that is using the dev portal, and that's only for internal purposes. So,
yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, indeed.
Yeah, we have some example external, and that's where we have these challenges, and those they all end up in a custom front end, let's say, or a custom solution, leveraging the well defined APIs. And by the way, it seems that there's something, another data model is coming up to serve API portals, developer portal for API management in the coming months. So I just got this news. I still have to
I
check
was
and
not aware of
investigate, but
it.
it will be another episode. Anyway, ARM, something on top of the ARM.
Yeah,
ARM, of
yeah,
course, is still the foundational
yeah,
service that we need to use to interface with Azure resources.
yeah, in general. Yeah, indeed.
Okay,
That's good.
that's cool. I just want to mention one thing that I was saying a few minutes before, is about the audience of a portal,
Yeah.
and how the audience can influence the requirements of a portal. Like 1 years ago, that customer asked me, okay, what was about authentication? And they have a mixed audience. They have a public audience. So suppose, let's use this example. I'm producing an intelligent fridge,
Hmm.
okay? A fridge that has an API on it. So, and they had a different audience, an audience that is the do-it-yourself, like me, Massimo, as a
Hmm.
private
Like
citizen.
a B2C, basically. Yeah,
Voilà,
yeah.
that I want to interact. I have an intelligent fridge. I want to see I want to check this API. But then they
Hmm.
have their business partner. They were building solution to integrate on top of this fridge.
Yeah,
So something, B2B. So they have a mix of audience. And then the question there was like, okay, not only how can the portal serve the two audience, but also how my authentication and my user onboarding it will be different from one
yeah,
audience. Because to make it super simple from one audience to the other, because to make it super simple, if I do it yourself, I want to access that API as soon as possible, but I don't want to have access to some operation that will make my I don't know fridge starting doing disco music, for example,
yeah.
or whatever. So very different things for the B2Bs where they need a contract signed, a rule of the engagement, and I suppose a firewall, white listening, certificates. So
Yeah.
that discussion is again more complex is the program, and more you have bigger is the audience, or also even more if you mix audience, it gets the game to
Yeah.
another level.
No, that's for sure. No, no. So I think it's good that you have something built in, right? And for smaller companies or again for internal use, could be good enough. But indeed, as soon as if you really have big ambitions and let's say a large customer base or partner base, then you would typically build something yourself basically, and so that you can indeed accommodate any onboarding scenario and any authentication scenario as well.
Yeah, yeah, and the
That's for
nice
sure.
things that the port allows you to use, of course, external identity provider. One of the things that we didn't
Yeah,
say, like if you want to use your own B2C, if you want, sorry, your
your own
own
IDP.
IDP, yes, sorry,
Yeah, yeah,
or a social IDP at the time, and these kind of things. So, like a classic example, Azure DB2C, and then you can use Azure DB2C to intake
yeah,
Google or any other social IDP provider.
yeah,
So that's
indeed. But that's
also
that's what I put here. Yeah, it's you see the map, you see B2C, and indeed through B2C you have the social IDPs. But
yeah,
actually, and anyway, the delegation can still be used as well. So if you would still say, okay, you want to bring your own notification page, and then
yeah.
the scenario you explained is exactly something I had for that customer where I implemented that. But that was years and years ago. Where
Mm.
basically that notification page you could come as either internal staff, either as a member firm somehow. It's not really member firm, but a member of that worldwide organization. So that was still some sort of internal, but not internal staff. You see what I mean?
Mm. Yeah,
So
yeah.
and then you just had to pick up. Okay, you log in as A or B, and then of course you were from there you were starting. I was starting, let's say and it was all, of course, targeting a custom IDP behind the scenes.
Okay.
But yeah,
I will. We are almost out of time, but
yeah,
I would like to, because I see here in your wonderful map, I would like to just close with one topic,
yeah,
because which is API Center. Maybe we'll talk about API
yeah,
Center in another episode.
yeah, 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 indeed.
When API Center was announced, one of the main questions, of the really the first question I got was like, what is the difference between a developer portal
Mm,
and API Center? We will go into the details, but mainly I believe is the audience of the tool. With
yeah,
one thing is you govern you take care of the interaction between your API consumers and yourself. The other one is to govern all your API SDLC
yeah,
or your API journey from the
yeah.
design all the way to production.
And from any environment as well. I
Exactly.
mean, from cloud, non-cloud, another cloud. So that's also the coverage is actually different. It's really an
Yes,
umbrella.
and
Yeah,
I love this discussion, because what you said, it triggered something. You make trigger something from the past. One last things about different environment. One of the questions also had from years ago from this customer from Luxembourg. It was like, okay, but why this developer portal like is only targeting an environment?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
actually, they had a point. They say, okay, I have my website, okay, and I can connect, for example, acceptance, but
mhm,
or production if you want.
mhm,
But I want also to have in the same box a
yeah,
connection to the sandbox, so
yeah,
to facilitate the tryout
yeah.
in another environment that has no impact on the runtime, etc.,
You had
etc.
a solution, Massimo. So of course the answer to the why is of course because the dev portal is tightly coupled to the instance, right? It's part of the instance. So you could have told that customer that it's not a good idea, of course. Just use a single instance for all your environments, and then you're not just kidding.
Yeah, but the
No, that
thing
would
is,
have worked, but that was not a good advice to make.
yeah,
Yeah,
but like they were from a customer point of view, no, they were looking like, okay,
of
what
course.
is my user experience? I want to arrive as okay on the
Yeah.
same user interface,
Yeah.
sandbox, and
You don't
any
want to
other
switch or
environment.
be redirected or whatsoever. You want indeed a seamless experience, whatever environment
Exactly.
is. Yeah. No, and that makes sense. And indeed, but the reason is indeed it's completely coupled to the instance, right?
Yeah,
While
it's a technical, mainly a technical reason or a technical
yeah,
choice,
yeah,
design choice. Yeah.
indeed, because they could have decoupled the dev portal from the start, right? You could have had a standalone dev portal which you would have plugged, you see, to some APIM instances, for instance. Why not? But
Yeah,
indeed,
but
that's not the choice that was made. But yeah, so that explains indeed that naive question, but very relevant question from that customer. Yeah.
okay.
Okay, good.
So we are at the end of our episode. We just I want to say the last two things. So first, remember our website where we track our journey, our episodes. You can use it as an entry point if you want to find any news about our this sharing environment that we put in place. And the last things, I want to thank you, everyone that is looking this episode, and of course you, Stefano, being here
Thank
and
you,
having
you
fun together.
Massimo. So yeah, great. See you guys. See you next time.